Yo, Elliot, you got strength questions and I got your answers. Yo, Elliot. Today we've got a great question about how to increase your squat weight from this kid, Jimmy. Check him out.
Yo, Elliot, this video is going to be about squats. I'm a freshman in high school. I'm going to be a freshman, and we just started weightlifting about a month ago. And I'm doing pretty good in everything except for squats. And I know you get a lot of squat videos, but my form, when I get to heavier weight around 200 pounds, trying to do about 5 reps, it just gets bad. And my coach has been getting on me about it. It's like they're telling me I got to keep my chest up, and we do box squats all the time. I'm about 5'8", and I have to go down to a box about 1.5 feet, and they're telling me to keep my chest up and barely tap the box. I know that's right, but I just can't do it. And I've been doing a lot of stuff to try and fix it. You know, they've been telling me to work on some front squats, a lot of stuff I've been doing, and I just can't seem to get it. And once again, when I get to like 200 pounds, that's when it goes wrong. When I'm at like 160 pounds, something like that, I got it. But when I get up to 200 pounds, it just goes bad. And I'm going to show you how I do it, but I got a little garbage can. It's about the size of my box, and compared to me, that's pretty much what the box is. But I'll show you what's going on. My coaches want my form to be like this, and I know, this is probably right. Keep my chest up, barely touch the box, and explode up. And the problem is when I get to about 200 pounds, that goes wrong. I'm either bending over and getting up, or I'll keep my chest up, but I'll sit more on the box. Like I'll put a lot of weight on, so I'm not just tapping the box and then exploding up. So yeah, sorry, it's a squat video, but I really need some help. I know you've done a lot of squat videos, but please help me out. Thank you.
All right, Jimmy. Thank you for your video question, my man, and here's how I'm going to answer your question. The very first thing I want to do is ask you if you've seen the movie Karate Kid. I'm assuming that most of you have. There's a scene in that movie that seems sort of, doesn't make sense, but it ends up helping the kid out later on in the movie. It's where the old man has him like waxing on and waxing off and painting up and down all the cars and the fences and things of that nature. And the kid is pissed off. He's bored. Why, old man, do you have me waxing cars and have me painting fences when I just want to kick someone's ass in karate? And later on, we realized that all of those weird movements that he had him doing, painting the fence and waxing on, waxing off, save his ass when he's fighting several months later on, because he does this and he blocks the guy and he does this. So what was actually happening in the early stages of his training was the development of his nervous system. Basically, the old man was teaching him certain motor engrams or recruitment patterns, basically where the brain builds roads or pathways or neurological maps to your muscle, and through repetition ingrains those patterns. So anybody who wrestles or does martial arts knows exactly what I'm talking about. You don't have to think in order to perform, right? So when he was doing this for 1,000 repetitions, right? Thousands and thousands of repetitions, when it came time for him to pull that move out through his nervous system, it was automatic. He probably didn't even think about it. I think there's, in that scene where he does a little move and he blocks the kick from happening, he's actually shocked. Like, where the hell did that come from? It's because the movement became so ingrained into his nervous system that it became subconscious. So when it was time to perform under pressure or under load, which is your situation, we'll talk about in a moment, there was no thinking about it. It happened instantaneously, and he trained in such a fashion that he was able to sustain the intensity of the event. Now, he wasn't fighting Bruce Lee. He wasn't in a WWE match with, I don't know, one of these guys that wears face paint. He was fighting someone that was of his, a little bit better than him, but of his same weight class, if you will. So how does this relate to you and your squats? Well, what I see happening a lot with, especially young football players, football coaches tend to do this to their young players. A lot of strength and conditioning coaches do the same thing, is that they start putting their athletes under a severe load, a high intensity environment, prior to efficiently building motor engrams that are associated with what they want their athlete to do, or what your coach wants you to be able to do. So in the same fashion that Daniel's son had to do wax on, with completely mindless. There was no intensity involved. There was just do the fucking move over and over and over and over and over again until it became a part of him. And then when he was under pressure, he just pulled it out and was able to kick somebody's ass. The same thing has to happen to you. You've got to start, all athletes, anybody who's weight training, anybody who's seeking to improve their strength in any regard. This is even associated with learning a language, learning anything. My son is learning how to walk. He just like, he goes up on the couch and he kind of creeps around. And now, as an adult, I take running for granted, but there was a time where I had to creep around the same way that he had to. I would never ask him to go, like, Benjamin, go run, go sprint, go do a sprint, kid. It'd be ridiculous for me to ask him to do that because he doesn't have the motor engram. He doesn't have the map, the nervous system map to be able to go and do that. You and probably a lot of your teammates and a lot of young athletes or people who are just starting out with training don't have the map that's necessary for you to be able to take on higher loads. Your nervous system doesn't recognize the squat as a viable movement. Now, you showed me a couple repetitions where you were under absolutely no load. You were using a bar. Well, that's cool. That's fine. What happens is there's a threshold through which your body is then going to start exposing your weaknesses. So what's going to happen is, yeah, I can squat. What are you talking about, Elliot? Yeah, I can squat. I put a bar on my back. But like you said, when you start getting up to about 200 pounds, then your nervous system freaks out because it's not confident enough, and it's not, and the pattern isn't ingrained to such a degree that it can maintain form at a higher load. So everyone's threshold is different. So for example, I've deadlifted up to 600 pounds. But at that point, my nervous system, because strength is a function of the nervous system, I hope you guys understand that, not necessarily the muscle per se, it's first a function of the nervous system. Get to a point where my body completely breaks down. A lot of you guys are sending me videos with your deadlifts, and your form is a mess because you're using weights that are above the threshold through which your nervous system has a map of reality to proceed from. With all that said, what the hell do you do? Well, a lot of people aren't going to like this answer, but essentially what you've got to do is you've got to back off the weights. Now, I've said this, and everybody else in strength and conditioning says this, you have to lift heavy weights to get stronger. Yes, that's true, but heavy is relative to your body's ability to maintain form while you're performing the goddamn move. So if you're breaking down, for example, you're breaking down at the upper back, it seems. It seems you're getting down to your squat and you're collapsing at the mid to upper back. So your legs may be strong enough to handle the load, but within that kinetic chain, the weak link is your upper back. So what you've got to do is you've got to choose an intensity or choose a weight that's below that threshold where that weak link in your chain breaks down, and rep the crap out of it. You just got to increase your volume underneath that threshold. Just a bit of trivia, it takes 300 to 500 repetitions when you're starting with a clean slate to learn any particular motor engram. That's just your nervous system's, the amount of time that it takes for your nervous system to recognize a motor engram. So when I say starting from a clean slate, I mean like you've never done it before. So if you never shot a gun before and someone taught you how to pick up a gun and shoot it, like a rifle or something like that, it's going to take about 300 to 500 repetitions for your nervous system and your body to build a motor engram that will efficiently be able to produce that movement. But here's what happens. You end up in a weight room with a bunch of testosterone-driven 16-year-olds and a coach who wants to win a national championship, and you're squatting for the first or second time in your life, and they start adding weight to the bar. So what happens now is you start building a faulty motor engram, faulty recruitment patterns. Your body starts picking up bad habits. And it takes 3,000 to 5,000 repetitions to fix a faulty recruitment pattern, a faulty motor engram. So what's going to end up essentially happening is if we don't spend the time early on, very early on, learning the form of your exercises, and the ones that are most typical are your squats and your deadlifts, and you have to go back and fix it like it's going to end up being the case for you, it's going to take a lot longer and it's going to be much more frustrating, especially if you've got your eyes set on a very high intensity, high weight. You want to get to 315. Well, I'm telling you, go back to 135 and rep the crap out of it with solid precision form. And I'm sure you know what that is. I've done videos of that nature in the past. And you can ask anyone, what's good form? Now just get a lot of repetitions on your belt with that particular form. That's it, guys. Thank you for sending your video questions. I'll crank out a few more this week. Keep sending them in. I'll talk to you next time. Yo, Elliot.